reason, in my opinion, that I had 205 members of Congress say yes on my amendment was because of you, because of people at home. It wasn't because of me. It was because people started calling up their congressmen. And we know that before Speaker Boehner allowed my amendment to go to the floor for a vote, he was getting hundreds of phone calls. And my colleagues were getting hundreds of phone calls. We were getting hundreds of phone calls. I wrote the amendment, we were getting hundreds of phone calls saying, please support the amendment. So it makes a difference. When I go to the House floor and I ask my colleagues how they're going to vote on something, they'll often bring up how many phone calls they got. And you'd be surprised, I think, at least I find most people are surprised that if someone gets like 10 phone calls on something, they start to really change their mind about it. So you have to recognize how much you can make a difference just by being involved. And I would say the more direct the contact, the better. So a phone call is great. Face-to-face is obviously great if you can get face-to-face with a congressman. That's sometimes difficult. But phone calls are great. Emails are less effective because we get hundreds of thousands of emails, and they are sometimes sent in bulk and they look like form letters. So you don't know if it's a real person or just like some kind of computer program sending you an email. So I'd say call your representative. It will make a difference.
Hey, I'm nervous. Okay, so
You're nervous.
When Occupy Wall Street started a couple years ago, I think it was a really crucial turning point where a lot of young people started to realize that there were some core factors in our recession and what was causing it. The problem is they're young people and they want to fix government spending with government spending. How do I show these people that they're on the wrong team, so to speak?
Good question.
That's a good question. And you know, there is a lot of commonality, believe it or not, between some of the people who are involved in things like the Occupy Wall Street movement and some of the newer Republicans who are more libertarian, who are concerned about the violations of their rights. They come to different conclusions about how you fix it. There are those like me who say you fix it by getting government out of the way. You have less government. We want less government interference in our lives. And some people in the Occupy Wall Street movement will say, no, we need more government interference. We need government interference to fix the government problems, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the way to do it is by approaching them with essentially an olive branch. You have to work with people in a cordial way. I think there's too much partisanship in this world. I really do. I'm a proud Republican, always have been, always will be. But what I can say is there's too much partisanship. There's too much about the Democrats are bad, the Republicans are good, or the Republicans are bad, the Democrats are good. There are good and bad people on both sides. I think Republicans have it more right than Democrats do. Substantially more right. But there are things that Republicans can also learn from Democrats, and we need to form these kind of relationships. This goes back to the issue of why would I work with John Conyers and others. Well, why not work with him when he agrees with me on something? Let's work together. Let's work together and find some common ground. And who knows? Maybe by working with some of the Democrats on things like civil liberties, like the NSA, you can then find some common ground with them on other issues. Maybe you can win them over on some budget issues. Maybe there's other issues where you say, you know, Justin worked with us in a very honest way, so I'm going to work with him on this other issue. I'm going to listen to him and maybe come along his way a little bit. And so let's just keep working with each other. Don't try to avoid insulting people, but I'm not suggesting you do. But try to avoid that kind of thing of the left is bad, the left is evil, and Occupy Wall Street's the worst thing ever. You know, we live in a society together, and we have to work with each other, and we can disagree about these things without becoming hostile toward each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Justin, again, I want to thank you for coming down.
Yeah, thank you.
Treat. And also, I had a question. This may be a dead question or a gut question, but I thought I heard there were some either other amendments or other legislation that other people had brought up, as well along the lines of the NSA, and were there other routes to it, or what else was going on with it?
Yeah, there are a lot of other avenues. Any legislation that comes up related to this issue is going to go through the Judiciary Committee. I have a good relationship with the chairman, Bob Goodlatte. I think he's on our side on this issue. He's very open to making changes to things like the Patriot Act to ensure that your records and your data are kept private. So there are a lot of bills out there. John Conyers has one that I'm working with him on. So he came on to my amendment. He worked with me on my amendment. I'm working with him on a bill. It's called the Liberty Act. And you know, John Conyers came up with the Liberty Act. That's fantastic. So I look forward to continue to push forward with that legislation. We have about 45 co-sponsors split almost evenly between Republicans and Democrats. And that's awesome. If you look at the co-sponsor list, it's 25 of the most conservative Republicans in Congress are co-sponsors of John Conyers' bill. And you also have Democrats, some of them who are you'd call liberal progressive Democrats, on the same bill. And that's great. Let's keep doing this. Let's keep working together in ways that are good for the American people. There are other bills out there to make the FISA court more transparent, that secret court. My bill does that partially, but there are other bills that do other things to increase that transparency. One of them, for example, calls for adding a civil liberties advocate to the FISA court process. Right now, when the federal government makes an application to this secret court saying, can we put out a court order to collect information, the secret court, it's reported, approves the applications almost 100% of the time. So the issue is, can we have someone who's a civil liberties advocate who can try to lower that percentage? That percentage is too high. There shouldn't be a system where it's just a rubber stamp. The government comes and says to court, hey, approve this order, and they say, sure thing. There should be some more dissent there. So that's one of the other areas we're working on. And there's a lot of other great ideas out there. They'll all go through Judiciary Committee.
I just had a quick question I forgot with my first question here. Do you still stay in contact with Dr. Paul? Sit down, have dinner with him, or call him up and say, hey, what do you think about this bill?
I stay more in contact with Rand Paul in the Senate. I see him relatively frequently, and I spent time with him this week. And he wrote me a nice note actually after the NSA debate, so that was very nice. But I do see. I am planning to see Dr. Paul within the next, I think, couple months. So we're going to have dinner together, actually. So.
And in the Federal Reserve, any more things that you guys are going to do? Take steps to get removed?
Yeah, Representative Paul Brown of Georgia has the End the Fed bill that he's taken up, and he's been collecting co-sponsors on that. And I don't know what its chances are, but I can tell you that that's an issue where Republicans have changed dramatically, and Ron Paul deserves tremendous credit for that. That overwhelming majority of Republicans are concerned about the Federal Reserve. It's not just Ron Paul and a few others anymore. It's most of, and my colleague Bill Huizenga, my neighbor, is on the committee that deals with that, and I'm sure he'll be pushing forward with that kind of legislation too. So, thanks.
So lucky I got one last question if you're again, Justin. But nonetheless, I really appreciate you being here, and we really appreciate the openness and the way that you express. Even this meeting right here, you could have spoke the whole time. Rather than that,
I don't like to speak.
That's great. Now, I
like to answer questions.
I was really hoping that our local elected representatives, the ones that left afterwards, would have been here to do this and actually also open up the floor when they talk to us, rather than talk at us, but listen to us and see what they have to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, one more question.
Justin, when you talk about like secret courts and secret judges, you know, and when we think of some of the appointments that the president made that seem to be like unconstitutional, I know I'm putting you on the spot when I answer this question, but are you ever concerned that there's sort of like a shadow government that's beginning to govern our country rather than the government that we see like in front of us right now?
Well, in certain areas, yes, I am concerned about that. When it comes to certain national security and intelligence, information, like internet sort of issues, I am concerned that there are secret laws, secret courts, secret decisions being made that are beyond what Congress is aware of. And I can tell you that even sometimes in classified briefings, I can ask a question and the person will tell me that's classified. And I'll say, well, we're in the classified briefing. This is where you're supposed to tell me about it. And members of Congress have top secret clearance. We have the top level of clearance. We're supposed to be able to see and hear anything because we have to represent our constituents. How can there be laws that members of Congress can't impact? That doesn't make any sense. You elect your representatives to deal with legislation. That's our job. And you know, they'll tell you like that. You know, we even had trouble with this amendment. You know, we were trying to get this amendment to the floor. Some of the ways we were originally writing it, they were like, oh, we can't write it that way because there's secret law involved, and you're trying to amend secret law. Well, that's like a catch-22. You guys create secret law, and then you tell us if you want to change it, you have to change it, but then you tell us we can't change it because it's secret. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I am concerned about it, and we're going to keep pushing forward. The vote the other day was much closer, I think, than people in leadership in the White House expected it to be. It was not closer than I expected it to be. I expected it to be a close vote. I thought we could win it. And we came very close and did a fantastic job. And I would say, in all my time that I've been in public office, that was the proudest moment I've had, is being part of that debate. Actually, getting a chance to go to the House floor, and we had 12 people. I lined up 11 other people on my side to speak on that, and I brought in Republicans.